a KQED television production.
And everybody say, Oppa!
Check Please Bay Area is made possible by the members of KQED and by
Safe Catch Elite Wild Tuna, great for athletes, kids, and pregnancy. Safe Catch tests each and every fish for mercury. Available at nearby stores. Walmart Global E-commerce, with small, agile work teams, is focused on big data, engineering, and e-commerce innovations. Careers available at walmartlabs.com. Sutter Health CPMC, investing in community care for more than 150 years, including 2 new smart hospitals. Your city, your hospital. CPMC2020.org.
Natural Mattress Systems from European Sleepworks, working to improve comfort and wellness for over 40 years. European Sleepworks in Berkeley, online at sleepworks.com. Oakland International Airport, now with flights all over the world. iFlyOAK.com. IRG has over 250 types of natural stone choices in stock today. IRG in Brisbane and Dublin, or at marblecompany.com.
We won't use it all, but use the next. All right, hi, I'm Leslie Sabrocco. Welcome to Check Please Bay Area, the show where regular Bay Area residents review and talk about their favorite restaurants. Now we have 3 guests, and each one recommends one of their favorite spots, and the other 2 go check them out to see what they think. This week, dance instructor Vanya Dionisio uses the power of music and movement to help hospitalized kids heal. After work, she boogies down to her deliciously healthy farm-to-table hotspot. And Retreat Center Director Tom Powers has enjoyed a lifetime of travel, discovering eateries in new places. So it's no surprise that he seeks out unique flavors right here at home. But first, for physician Jerome Chalaya, long, laborious hours awaiting baby's first cry make for a big appetite, so it's a local San Francisco bakery featuring unexpected and creative flavors that's become his go-to spot. It's called Heartbaker.
I started Heartbaker with my dad. Since he's moved on to retirement, here I am on my own with my husband and family running it. I'm Sybil Johnson. I own Heartbaker on Clement and 15th. I've always loved baking. I think I've always wanted my own restaurant or my own business. I just like to cook from the heart. I like comfort food. I like things simple and tasty. I'm definitely a modern person. I like industrial, I like black, metal, gray. It's a collaboration with my mom. She helped me design it. Also, my dad and my husband helped build quite a few things in here as well. I definitely like wine. We have 6 beers on tap and a few bottles, but most of our business goes into the taps. I would say we have a pretty cool vibe here. We have great food. We're definitely all family. We have outdoor seating, which is nice, especially on a sunny day. This neighborhood's great.
Cheers. All right, Jerome, Heartbaker is much more than a bakery, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. This is the place to have brunch in San Francisco. What I love about this place is it's quintessentially San Franciscan, but without the long lines that we're used to.
Right.
And I usually go here on a Saturday or Sunday morning and get the biscuit sandwich and finish it off with their incredible desserts that they have. Mm-hmm. Oh my God, this biscuit sandwich is fabulous. It is this buttermilk biscuit that just crumbles as soon as you touch it, followed by this incredibly fried egg that it has the yolkiness of the egg still in there, so you can soak it up into the biscuit, and you just take a bite of it and you just say welcome to the weekend.
Well, I went for the salmon Benedict and it was perfect.
Mm-hmm.
It was extraordinary, and I'm very, very serious.
Yeah.
It was melting in my mouth. In fact, I was bitterly disappointed because they didn't have any for sale. Oh. I would have gone home with a dozen of them. Honest to God, the muffin was the best muffin I've ever had in my life. The salmon was obviously fresh, beautiful salmon aroma. The egg was done perfectly, and like I said, that muffin. Extraordinary.
Well, Sybil Johnson is the baker, and she's got a pedigree, CIA trained, and has worked around the Bay Area.
Yeah.
And this is her baby. What did you have when you went, Vanya?
I had the salmon Benedict, like he did, and it was very delicious. I'm very picky. I usually like my salmon Benedict really, like with the sauce, really rich, you know. It felt very delicious. It was crumbling and melting. It was the best biscuit I ever had.
The best. So the salmon was the best, and the biscuit sandwich was the best.
It was the best ever. And you know, it came with a kale salad that came with it. You can choose kale or potato, and I chose the kale, and it was very delicious. It had a little coconut flakes, and the dressing was very mild. I loved it.
I mean, the kale salad is just a sideshow for the biscuit, but the kale salad does make me believe that I'm eating something healthy. So I like that for that reason. But I agree with you; it's just very refreshing, especially given the biscuit is a bit heavy. So it's a good complement.
Yes.
Right, and then the really healthy part of that is a mimosa, isn't it?
Absolutely. Usually I go here right before I go to work, so I do not have the mimosa.
You don't have a mimosa.
But if I could, I certainly would have.
I had the mimosa. I am sorry, but I did.
Well, he's a doctor.
I know. And I had a designated driver for the day. We went on a Sunday. We went on a Sunday morning, and the mimosa was delicious. They make with a grapefruit and a regular orange.
All right.
We ordered a bottle of wine, and they have a very nice wine list there.
It's small but well selected. Some Portuguese, some California, Spanish.
So that was lovely, and what I will not ever forget is the wonderful bakery counter where you can just go and stare and pick out what you want.
And what did you get?
All chocolate.
All right.
And they were wonderful. We had 3 different chocolate desserts. We actually saw some of it coming out of the kitchen. And that's a delight
Right.
to know that it's all baked right there.
Of the 3, which was your favorite?
You know, I don't recall the name, but it has there's a little chocolate dollop, and it had melted chocolate inside, and it was just marvelous.
The Bambellini?
Yes, that's
Yes,
it.
Bambellini.
Right.
Yes, so the baked desserts is really the star of the show. It is how I fell in love with the Heartbaker. This is the place that I met my fiance. It has a great deal of like sweet sentimental value for me. And the Bambellini is not incredibly massive, but it's just the right amount, sugar coated with doughy center. Either you could have chocolate in the middle or Nutella or even vanilla.
Now, but this isn't only a brunch place. People can come here for lunch and early dinner.
Early dinner. And it's a great place to go there on a foggy evening. They have a fried chicken that rotates in and out, and I think it's done incredibly well. Not greasy, which is one of the problems that I have with fried chicken, and really melts in your mouth.
Now, what about service?
Service that day was a little slow, but also it was very busy. We were fortunate. We went in and they had 2 seats at the counter. And that was lovely because we were able to communicate with the wait staff.
Unfortunately, we had a kind of a long wait for our food. But then when the food came, it resolved everything because it was so good. It made up for the long wait.
Did that caramel salted brownie make up for the wait?
It did. The best part was the biscuit, but the caramel salted brownie was very rich and really delicious.
I think the time for bougie brownies has come, and the Heartbaker is leading the way with the caramel salted brownie. It's also bite-sized, which I love.
And there's no calories in bite size.
Absolutely.
Did you know that?
There's no calories in bite size. So
The physician talk.
That's right.
I know. We'll take notes.
We'll take notes from this.
the brownie itself it's very crispy on the outside, but it's still very cakey on the inside, and it has just an injection of caramel in the middle.
Not too much. Not too sweet.
Exactly.
Yeah, it was
not too
perfect.
sweet.
It
Was just sweet. Do you feel like it was a good value?
Oh, wonderful value.
Right.
I mean, terrific. And I've already invited people there and suggested it to other friends.
What other egg dish did you have?
The second time I went, because I went back.
Oh, look at
And
you.
I had the huevos rancheros, and they were just wonderful. The salsa was obviously homemade and delicious.
Did you get a sandwich as well?
My friend did, and it was this amazing sandwich that had butternut squash, kale, and it was just delicious.
Yes.
And we walked home.
And you.
That's healthy, right?
Well, it's your spot. Wrap it up for us.
The Heartbaker will make your heart sing. Check it out.
All right, and Vanya?
It's a jam in San Francisco. It's a very sweet place to go.
Tom?
Great place to bring people together over brunch on the weekend.
All right, if you would like to try Heartbaker, it's located on Clement Street at 15th Avenue in San Francisco. The telephone number is 415-592-6008. It's open for breakfast and lunch Tuesday through Sunday, dinner Wednesday through Friday with brunch on the weekends. Reservations are not accepted except for private parties, and the average brunch tab per person without drinks is under $15. Locally sourced, community-centric cooking is the focus at Vanya's Pick, located within Swan's Marketplace in historic Oakland, at the Cook and Her Farmer.
I like food to be honest. I like a good plate of food. I never want to see a small, fussy salad. I want people to come in and feel great about what they're eating. I'm Romney Steele. I am the co-owner of the Cook and Her Farmer, and I'm the cook.
Hi, I'm Stephen Day. I'm the co-owner and the farm in the equation. Farm to table was very serious to us. We wanted our food to also reflect our own individual experiences.
I grew up at Nepenthe Restaurant, and that's in Big Sur, California. We were opened in 1949. My grandparents started that. Of course, you have this incredible view, but we also had a huge garden. I grew up eating honest food. We speak about that a lot. If it's from the ocean, it speaks of the ocean. If it's from the earth, it speaks of the earth.
And we do a lot of things with Oakland in mind.
One of the things that's different here in our kitchen, I think in particular, is that we're providing a learning opportunity, and there's a lot of hands-on training. We have second language learners as well as first-time learners in the kitchen. And we wanted to provide an opportunity for young people that wouldn't otherwise have a job.
The Cook and Her Farmer is an ideal place to gather around the table for honest foods and to create great memories. Would you agree with that?
I would agree with that completely.
All right, Vanya, how did you discover this spot, and what do you love about it?
It reminds me of home. It's just a sense of cooking with love, you know, cooking for people who you care about. When I found the Cook and Her Farmer, it's just like I go home feeling fulfilled.
And Chef Steele came from growing up in a family of chefs and within the restaurant business in Big Sur,
Yes.
at Nepenthe.
Yeah,
right.
that's correct.
Very
So
famous restaurant.
Yeah, she tells a story that she was born in Nepenthe in Big Sur's kitchen because it's owned by her grandparents. And so she has, you know, her entire life devoted to cooking and writing about food.
What's your favorite dish?
My favorite dish ever is the Big Sur melt. It's the best grilled cheese ever that you eat with the pecorino and jack and Gruyere cheese. It just melts in your mouth. And the Big Sur melt has a shrimp. It has this little mostarda, like some sweet addition, and with the bread, it's just the best food ever.
She's like, oh my God.
I want one right now.
Jerome, what did you have?
So I went there for dinner with one of my friends, and I got the po' boy, which was fantastic. It was this cornmeal fried oyster with just a lot of coleslaw and pickle on an Acme bread. It just hit the spot on a cold night in Oakland.
She makes, like, they make everything from scratch.
Wow,
like,
I didn't
you know,
know
like the pickles and everything. That's why it tastes like so fresh and
Absolutely.
yeah, it's right
And
there.
Tom, what about you?
Oysters.
Oysters, oysters, oysters.
We sat down at the counter. They brought the menu over right away. We ordered a bottle of Sancerre and just sat there and ate a couple of dozen oysters, and they were fantastic. In fact, it was almost that I wanted to continue just eating oysters. And there's a whole story about the oysters. The farmer, he went and he actually studied. So he became an expert in oysters.
You tried the sauce too that she makes?
The mignonette.
Oh,
it's just perfect because anything else, sometimes they'll serve like horseradish with oysters and it just kills it. These with a little lemon, a tiny little mignonette, it was perfect.
So we also shared a chicken chamouli, which is this grilled chicken pieces on a skewer on top of this bed of arugula with pomegranate seeds and this cara orange.
Nice.
And it was really fantastic. The flavors was just very exotic in many ways, and I've never really eaten a dish with pomegranate seeds in it. And it was executed with such perfection that I would go back just for that.
Just for that dish.
Wow. Well, I get the steak. I'm Brazilian. vegetarian, so we love meat, and you know, steak's a big deal. It comes with some potatoes and fresh grains. You know, when I had it was mustard grains, and was very was sauté. Everything was to perfection. Plus, it came with the garlic butter as well, with the combination of the grains, which feels healthy, right? Right. So it was delicious. And I also had a new dish for the first time. I had the fisherman stew, which is a combination of mussels and shrimp and a little bacon, and it was really delicious. Now the garlic fries at the Cook and Her Farmer is the best garlic fries in the entire world. Like seriously, like you can see them, like you see a cooking show, you mentioned something early, like you're just like watching them cooking there, like they're chopping the garlic, and it's so fresh, crispy, and it's a different experience of garlic fries that you have in different places. So it's a must order if you go there.
Agreed, Tom?
Have the garlic fries, bring some peppermint gum. The kale salad here was fascinating. It had quinoa, it had carrot, it was a vinaigrette, a citrus vinaigrette dressing. It was very nice. A wee bit tough, but kale's tricky that way.
Right.
I love the dressing, and I love the way the quinoa goes so well together with the kale, like the combination that she does.
We had an interesting experience because we started at the high counter where we were having the oysters, and for dinner then we moved to the lower counter, and it was a cooking show. And we saw everything going on in front of us, and it was fascinating.
So that's the place to sit.
I loved it, yeah.
And what's interesting is even though it's in Swan's Market, they have their own reserved section just for this restaurant. For them, yeah. So there's a lot of communal tables that you can also sit at, but if you go to the Cook and Her Farmer, then you have your own reserved seating as well.
Oh, that's a good tip.
Yeah, because I'm a dessert person, I did order their chocolate chip cookie, which probably was the only thing that was amiss that night. The cookie just felt very stale and almost made me wish for Chips Ahoy. But, but that was the only complaint. Everything else was really great.
We actually did the Nepenthe spice cake, and it was a bit of a miss. It was a little dry that night. Okay. And that might have just been the night. You never judge a dessert by one tasting.
You've got to try it multiple times.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
This is your spot. Wrap it up for us, Vanya.
If you're looking for a place where you can experience food made with love and joy and very tasty and very fresh and the best garlic fries in the universe, just go to the Cook and Her Farmer.
All right, and Jerome?
It's a fun communal environment to grab a bite in Oakland.
All right, and Tom?
Great environment. Very exciting, very wonderful just to be able to see everything going on right in front of you and have the excitement of the crowd.
Yeah.
All right, if you would like to try the Cook and Her Farmer, it's located in Swan's Marketplace at Washington and Oakland. The telephone number is 510-285-6140. It's open for breakfast, lunch, and dinner Monday through Saturday with early dinner on Monday. Reservations are not accepted except for large groups, and the average dinner tab per person without drinks is around $25. What's the right serving temperature for wine? We usually serve whites too cold, making them lose their aromatic qualities, while reds that are too warm seem less fruity and a little more alcoholic. Bottles should be cool to the touch for whites and refreshing for reds. My trick for achieving this is half ice and half water for about 20 to 30 minutes with whites and 10 to 15 for reds. The lighter and sweeter the style, the more chill. A bit less for fuller-bodied dry wines. All bottles, though, benefit from a quick dip. Tom's Pick features a contemporary take on Sri Lankan cuisine, created by a French-trained chef. Vibrant, colorful small plates appeal to all senses at 1601 Bar and Kitchen in San Francisco.
We're doing what we like to call modern Sri Lankan food, but this is very much a chef-driven restaurant. My name is Brian Fernando. I'm the head chef at 1601 Bar and Kitchen. I run the restaurant with my wife, and she's in charge of the front of the house, and I'm in charge of the kitchen.
Steep some konbu seaweed.
My background is in fine dining, formal French training, but we've chosen at the restaurant to kind of weave in my ethnic background and use traditional Sri Lankan flavors.
Good luck.
As far as I know, we're the only people that are doing Sri Lankan food in the Bay Area, whether traditional or our version of it. The presentations especially, I think, are unique to the restaurant. A typical Sri Lankan meal, you get more of a buffet style, whereas we like to serve things as individual courses. So you're getting the experience of a Sri Lankan meal, but over a greater period of time. We put a lot of time and effort into our wine list here as well. So we want to have that wine progression match the food progression.
Take kale, salmon to 42.
Entrepreneurs are the people who work 100 hours a week so they don't have to work 40 hours for somebody else. And we're still the first people in the restaurant and the last people out every single day. I feel like if we weren't running the restaurant ourselves, we would never be able to do this concept.
Tom, tell us about this place because you have traveled all over the world. How did you find this spot?
Friends coming from LA. They're gourmands. They eat out 4 or 5 times a week. I needed something different. I did my research and I went, Sri Lankan, really? But we got in there and the decor is wonderful. The staff was immensely friendly. And then the food started coming out. And some of those dishes I go back again and again and again with different people and enjoy. Brian the chef, his father's from Sri Lanka, and his father is very proud of his smoked salmon recipe. And I found out recently that he actually has agreed now that Brian's smoked salmon is better. It melts in your mouth. It's smoked right there in the restaurant, and it's an extraordinary dish. The kale salad, and we've talked about kale. I found out something there that I had never heard before, and that is they dress the kale salad several hours before. And it marinates, and that kale salad then is flexible and soft and not sort of the crunchy, chewy stuff that you can sometimes get with kale salad. And then there's this dish that's Sri Lankan street food that you grew up eating.
Yeah.
And we're going to get, he's from Sri Lanka, so we'll get your opinion in just 1 second here.
And it's the egg hopper, and it's this lacy bowl, edible bowl of rice flour and coconut, and inside a perfectly cooked egg, served with sambals, which are these different mixes of spices and cooked onion and peppers that you mix with the egg. Extraordinary experience.
So I want to have you from Sri Lanka, right?
Yes. So,
Give us your take on this restaurant because it's not a purist Sri Lankan restaurant.
Absolutely. I think that is the key to know is that you're not going to go to this restaurant and expect authentic Sri Lankan food.
Right.
This is Sri Lankan food gone fancy.
Right.
And so, the egg hopper is a street food, and I think they do it extremely well. The egg hopper is actually a really hard thing to nail down because the edges are so crispy and it's so thin that it takes an incredible chef to be able to do that. And so I think that dish was purely authentic to Sri Lanka. But I also had the lobster kotti roti, which is also a comfort Sri Lankan food.
Right.
I must say that if you had just given that to me without telling me it was Sri Lankan, I would have not guessed it to be kotti roti. It was just very different in how it was prepared. It was almost like a salad of sorts, but it's actually an entree in Sri Lanka. But the lobster on it was so interesting. I've never had lobster kotti roti. I mean, I appreciated the innovation in the dish. And one of the dishes that we kind of took ownership of was the lump rice, which was the duck lump rice. And this was a really interesting take on it. I must say that I was not necessarily a fan of the lump rice itself, but the duck that came with it was really, really good. I could eat that duck. It was crispy and moist, and duck done right.
Duck done right. All right, Vanya, get in here with these two guys.
Sure.
What's your take on this?
I was ready for new things. So when I saw the menu, I ordered the kale salad. I loved it. You were right. It was very soft and it was very marinated, really nice and light. Then I tried the egg hopper, and it blew my mind. It was a really different. I love the I'm so into presentation,
right?
So I love the presentation, that crepe, and you can eat. And and then I also had the salmon, not too strong, not too mild. Very soft. I mean, it was really very delicious. It was one of my favorite dishes there.
So the egg hopper is completely authentic. The lump rice is definitely Sri Lankan inspired, but a completely different take. The kotti roti, like I said, was also very authentic. But I would say those are the 3 big Sri Lankan staples on the menu that we're like, this is so distinctly Sri Lankan that you wouldn't be able to get this in an Indian restaurant.
Right.
There's one chocolate dessert that is extraordinary, and it's Valrhona chocolate.
Valrhona, from the Valley of the Rhone in France. Valrhona.
And which Valrhona. I had not known about.
Yes.
And that was really, I think it was my favorite part of the meal. And it had a coconut-laced cookie on top, as you mentioned. And it was really, you could eat that for days.
And they have quite a wine list.
They're heavy on the white because that goes really well with the Sri Lankan food. But they also have, for instance, this Indian wine. I didn't know
They do make wine
it was
in India, absolutely.
such a thing. And it's smoky. And if you had said to me, have a glass of Indian smoky wine, I'd say, no, I'll pass. It's amazing. You have to try it.
The only thing that I do wish that they did is that the decor could be more Sri Lankan. They had very San Francisco art, and I think Sri Lanka has very distinct art and culture, and it'd be really fun to be able to, you know, change up the atmosphere and feel like you're going to some exotic country.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, this is your spot. Give us a quick summary, Tom.
Easy parking. What a gift from San Francisco. Wonderful environment, terrific staff, and food that's unusual without being weird.
All right, and Vanya.
I would say, you know, it's a trip to a different place with an experience of a wonderful staff and a very unique food.
All right.
It's worth going there just for the service. It is truly exceptional.
It is.
All right, if you would like to try 1601 Bar and Kitchen, it's on Howard Street at 12th in San Francisco. The telephone number is 415-552-1601. It's open for dinner Tuesday through Saturday. Reservations are recommended, and the average dinner tab per person without drinks is around $60. Well, I have to thank my great guests on this week's show. Jerome Chalaya, whose pulse races on the way to his favorite breakfast eatery at Heartbaker in San Francisco. Vanya Dionizio, who pirouettes to her locavore-friendly spot, The Cook and Her Farmer in Oakland. And Tom Powers, who navigates the streets of San Francisco to the unique flavors at 1601 Bar and Kitchen. Now, we really want to hear about your experiences at any of the restaurants we've been talking about, so find us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. And don't forget that you can watch any of our shows on our website at kqed.org/checkplease. It's where you'll find links to the restaurants and where you'll find my notes on the wines we're drinking today. So join us next time when 3 new guests will recommend their favorite spots right here on Check Please Bay Area. I'm Leslie Sabraco, and I'll see you then. Cheers, everyone.
Cheers.
Cheers to you all. Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Vanya.
Check Please Bay Area is made possible by the members of KQED and by IRG has over 250 natural stone choices and over 10,000 stone slabs in stock today. IRG in Brisbane and Dublin or at marblecompany.com. Oakland International Airport. Now with flights all over the world. iFlyOAK.com. Natural mattress systems from European Sleepworks, working to improve comfort and wellness for over 40 years. European Sleepworks in Berkeley, online at sleepworks.com.
Sutter Health CPMC, 7,000 employees, nurses, and physicians caring for their communities every day. Your city, your hospital. CPMC2020.org. Walmart Global E-commerce, with small, agile work teams, is focused on big data, open source engineering, and e-commerce innovations. Careers at walmartlabs.com. Safe Catch Elite Wild Tuna, great for athletes, kids, and pregnancy. Safe Catch tests each and every fish for mercury. Online at safecatch.com.